All right, what's going on YouTube? This is a different kind of video from me. I'm going to be walking through a tournament I played off stream yesterday. I captured the final 19 players of this $530 super. Been dealing with COVID recently, haven't been 100%, very congested. You might be able to hear, it's kind of makes it tough to stream, but yeah, I thought I'd record this tournament and it went well enough to where I can upload it on YouTube. So we're going to walk through some of these spots and see if we can get any interesting insight. So here we go. Pocket sevens here on the button. We get the open raise. We're really hoping small blind shoves here, but they instantly fold. Flop is set. Let me just pause it here for a second. This player has loose in their name, and we're very deep, and we cover for this big bounty. So I think it's pretty key to like try to use big sizings here. They're not gonna fold a ton on the flop. They have lots of hands that can float, lots of hands that can call. Any pair can call. Any like Jack 10 of clubs can float here. King Jack, King 10, King 9, 9 8, 9 5. Like they can just call so much. I'm not sure how aggressive they're gonna be on their side with check raises because, you know, I'm one of the few people that covers them in this tournament. You know, are they going to check raise a bunch of draws? Like maybe, right? And in that case, going for the small sizing might be good. But I think sizing up on our end, on all streets here to try to maybe get the play for the bounty or just force a lot of money in makes sense. So that's why I go for the 60% with the set. They call. Turn is the deuce. Now I'm going to want to apply a lot of pressure on this turn. If I have bluffs, I'm going to keep bluffing here quite a lot because they're going to have, again, a ton of those floating type hands. We want to put pressure on 6x. We want to put pressure on hands like ace 10, like if I have ace 5 here. And the reason why I go for this huge bet, again, is because we're super deep. We want to play for this bounty. We don't block that queen. I don't think they're going to fold top pairs on the turn here. They might be sticky with like a combo draw. So I like the big sizing, and that's mainly just to be able to play for that big bounty and like try to just win a huge pot against somebody that might be playing too loose. That's why I went for the big bet. Pocket eights, no brainer. Gonna go for this $280 bounty. They could be shoving lots of worse pairs. We're gonna be flipping. We're happy to flip for bounties at this stage when we have all the chips. It's a good flop, good turn, and the bad news. We are 7 out of 12, so we're kind of like a mid stack. I mean, you can see our blinds. We have 33 big blinds. I'm going to go for a raise with the eights under the gun. And we face a shove. And this spot is really deadly. So we cover for this bounty. The thing is, here, I can be confident that they have ace king, ace queen. I can be confident that they have nines, tens, jacks, queens. The things I can't be confident about are whether they're going to go for the shove with pocket fives, go for the shove with pocket sixes, go for the shove with pocket sevens. For 30 big blinds deep in the 530 against the under the gun open. Granted, you know, we're playing six-handed. I think this is a pretty ugly spot. I think I would have a pretty tough time folding nines because I do think they would shove eights. But even nines, you know, I think tens is the first pair where I'd be like, yeah, we're in for sure. Nines, I mean, nines does a bit better, a little bit. I think it's a bit too marginal, and unless I knew this player was gonna, you know, be taking pocket fives, sixes, sevens every time, if I knew they were shoving like queen 10 suited, right? Like if I knew they had a proper, decently wide jamming range, I don't mind flicking it in here. We're gonna be playing for the chip lead, the bounty. I decided to pass. I think it's just a bit too marginal in these positions, right? If I open the button, we call. If I open the cutoff, we call. These two positions, I mean, it might honestly only be this position that I'm going to raise fold here. I just think it's a tight jamming range, so had to let it go. Tough to let it go for the bounty, but I think it's just it's a bit too risky. Pocket fives on the button, definitely going to be an open raise. 10-9-7. Now, this is a flop where Tony Soprano covering me for the big bounty. I think they're going to have a lot of calls, a lot of floats. I just decided to check back. I think they're going to be quite sticky. Yeah, we check back. Turn is a 6. Brings in a 4-liner right away. Not a good turn for me. I'm so happy to face a check here. And I don't think betting accomplishes too much at this point. Check again. And we river the set. Now, after they check twice, we're pretty comfortable here with the set. Pretty comfortable. And they go for the small bet. Now, double check into a small bet. Are we going to be facing a lot of straights? No. Do we beat everything else? Yes. I mean, they don't have pocket sixes, sevens, nines, tens. They're going to shove those hands pre. Now, I think the one thing to mention here is that I'm very unlikely to have straights, right? Raising is a dangerous game because if I'm very unlikely to have a straight after checking twice on this board which is the case. I'm very unlikely to have a straight. I might never have a straight here. If Tony knows that, like if Tony puts that together, we can raise and face a shove here because Tony could still have a straight. It would be rare, but they could still have a straight. And I pretty much never have a straight. So raising is dangerous because it opens up that door for Tony to be like, well, he just never has a straight, right? So if you're playing against high level opponents and you really don't want to face that shove, or you don't want to, level yourself, that's something to be aware of. Like if you can never have the nuts in an ICM environment, right? Because there's 11 left and I can never have a straight. So raising is kind of scary. We could just click the call button and call it a day. However, I was kind of already thinking about this in my head and I'm thinking maybe we can just call off. I think we have to go for value. A little sketchy to raise since I never have straights, but at the end of the day, they went check, check, small bet. We have an easy value raise here. And if we face the shove, then, we might level ourselves into calling, but... And we do get a call, and in a second, I think we'll see just how good of a river that was. Queen 9 suited in the big blind, quite nice. Gonna be a call here. Jack 6-3, pretty nice board for the Queen 9. I mean, we have options to check raise or check call or make a move here, assuming they bet like a smaller sizing. Could also play it passively too. I mean, it's not a must move kind of situation, but the first thing that catches my eye on this board is that Jack of Hearts. Opponent does go for a small bet, 1.5 into 5. So we're getting quite a good price to do something here. I don't think against this sizing we're going to want to fold very much. Hopefully I don't. I don't really remember what I did. I think I called. Yeah, okay, good. At least I didn't fold. Turn, beautiful. Queen of clubs. We pick up a top pair after floating. Just going to keep checking here. Goes for a bet of 6 big blinds into 8. And we have an easy call. My opponent's starting to size up. I mean, if for some reason my opponent bet like 1/3 on the turn, I might have gone for a raise, but they're doing the large sizings themselves. They're repping strong hands. We just want to play check, call. And, after floating and turning the top pair, we're just not going to do a lot of folding here. I mean, they miss with ace-10, diamonds, 5-4. Yeah, I just snap call. So many hands that they can bluff here. You can see some offsuit aces going for the bluff. They can have some more natural bluffs like king-10 and ace-10 and ace-king going for the barrels, diamonds, king 7 of diamonds, ace 5 of diamonds. Like there's so many bluffs. We're going to have a lot of like 6x and jack x in our check call range. Yeah, having the queen 9 here, blocking 9-10, blocking the strong 2 pairs, ace queen, these kind of hands. So just a really nice call down spot. And this pot actually shot me all the way up into the chip lead. 6-7 suited, definitely going to be wanting to raise. Flop is 10-9-4 after Tony defends. I don't think this is a board we're going to want to bet everything on, like go for a range bet. Tony is one of the better players in this tournament, and this is a board where they can go for lots of check raises and play aggressive and play a lot of check raises with like top pair. 6-7 is a hand that doesn't really want to face that sort of aggression. I also don't think I get like, I don't know, it's just a board where I think a lot of floats can occur. So while I don't hate the bet, I think against this opponent specifically, with this hand specifically, I think check is quite a good option. We can check back, call on any pair. Obviously on an 8, we're laughing. On high cards, they're going to check it to me quite often. Like any jack, queen, king, or ace, they're often going to go for a range check. That's, I think, how most people play. So yeah, I think checking is good. We do pick up a pair of 7s, which is a decent hand on this board now. And Tony fires 6 big blinds into 5. This is kind of why I wanted to check back the flop in the first place. Tony is good, knows how to apply pressure. I think is going to be playing well on the flop. So I went for a check back. I was hit with this. Now we have a pair, we have a gutter. There's double flush draws on the board. Our outs are pretty good. Like a 7, 8, 6 is decent. We beat some bluffs. We have the pair in the gutter. We check back the flop. I don't think we want to fold right away here. So we're going to go for the call. And the river is the queen of hearts. Now my hand is not too good. My opponent can still be bluffing with a hand like king 8. They can have that for a bluff. Yeah, some 8x bluffs. Maybe like a jack 6 of clubs type hand. Like there is definitely still bluffs out here. But the queen of hearts does, connect with some of their betting range. Their hearts get there. And the thing about my range here is that with the stack sizes at play, I'm going to be betting king queen a lot on the flop. I'm going to be betting queen jack a lot on the flop. I'm going to be betting hearts a lot on the flop. So this river, queen of hearts, like even king jack, I'm betting a lot on the flop because we're deep enough where I can bet all these hands, right? So king queen, queen jack, king jack, all of which improve on this river. I don't actually end up having those hands too much because I check the flop. Or hearts. It's actually quite a good river for my opponent because those hands are going to fit into my opponent's betting range, I think. I think even for the large sizing, along with all the other two pairs and things. So I think my opponent improves on this card along with all the value they already had. And I don't actually improve too much in my range on this card. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about this card. I'm pretty lost here with what my opponent does. I'm pretty lost. My opponent ends up betting 6 big blinds instead of going all in. They had a little bit over pot, right? So they go for this 6 big blind bet. And I'm pretty lost. Like, I'm very tempted to shove, but my previous analysis, that's why I talked about it, right? Because I kind of want to shove here, right? I have like a very low down hand in my range. You know, I blocked them having a straight. I think a straight would probably just shove. So I don't think that matters too much. You know, the thing about having a 7 in this spot is that I kind of want my opponent to have like a 7-9 here, right? Like, I want them to have a 7-9 or a 7-10. Because if I go for the jam, like, those are the kind of hands that they can fold. They can fold a weaker 2-pair. They can fold a 4-7. They can fold a 7-9. So I don't really want to have the 7, I don't think, if I want to go for a bluff. First of all, I'm not thinking about calling. I think their range is just a bit too strong. I think my hand is a little too weak. I'm hoping I can come up with better hands to call with, considering I called an overbet on the turn. A lot of factors into why I think we should probably just fold here. Again, I don't think having a 6 is like necessarily a good thing, because I think they can maybe bluff with a 6, but I don't actually think they're going to bet a straight this sizing very often. So I think the 6 ultimately is maybe not good. We don't block the flush, which I think goes all in as well, so I guess that doesn't matter either. But yeah, that main point, like the hands that I'm going to want to go all in with here, flushes, queen 10, king jack, these kind of hands I'm going to want to go all in with, but I just don't have them enough. I don't think I have them enough after checking the flop, so we're going to let it go here. Kind of a big pot. Yeah, the wheels were turning. I was definitely considering a few options. Even call for a second, but mainly I was considering bluff jamming here. But I do eventually give up my hand. Interesting spot. Now, it should be mentioned, you know, I haven't ran any of these spots in PO Solver. I haven't run any sims on any of these spots. This is just how my brain works and how it was working throughout the tournament. So that's all this is. I mean, you can take whatever you want from it. This is not like Solver approved play. This is how I look at the spots. So, okay, ace queen in the big blind. We see an open from loose. They have 20 big blinds. They have a huge bounty. We're incentivized to get it in here with the ace queen. Happy to take it down pre, happy to get it in and get called by ace jack like we see here. Good flop, good turn. And that is a $625 bounty. That was huge. This was huge. We're going to be taking the chip lead into the final table, and we scooped that biggest bounty on our table. That was a feel-good moment. All right, final table time. Ace 10 here in the small blind. So there's always a pressure as the chip leader to feel like you gotta make moves. You know, like some of the best players in the world, they really do. They push the issue, they push the envelope, they play every single hand they can, they're 3-betting a ton. Like, that's generally how the best players in the world play. But I think it's a strategy that you have to really know your thresholds well. It's difficult to execute optimally. So I tend to personally, like, you know, the entire game of poker is not emulating the #1 players in the world, right? Sometimes in the moment you have to look at your own strengths and think about, okay, how can I, for myself, make the most money I can here? And for me, that's playing a somewhat aggressive strategy, but maybe not pushing the envelope to the max at this point in my career. Like, I can play aggressive, but not, I don't think I can play hyper aggressive, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I approach final tables. I'll take my spots. I'll push the issue with the chip lead, but I'm not playing 100% hands. I'm not playing 95% hands. You know, I'm playing looser, but not like crazy. Suited aces, always going to be really nice to open. We're going to block their reshoving range from our opponents. Plays well against the big blind. I'm going to be opening all my suited aces from any position at the table. See a call on the button from Donut Lord. You know, I think they can get away with this at a final table. You know, normally you wouldn't see too much calling off a short stack on the button like this, but I think our opponents aren't going to go maybe too crazy at the final table, and my range is going to be perceived to be quite wide. There's not huge issues from flatting here, I don't think, for Donut Lord. Now, I think these two players specifically are good players, and they're going to realize that I have a wide range and they have a capped range, you know, meaning they're probably not going to have a ton of like premium holdings or like ace king or ace queen or these kind of things. So these two specifically might be playing well and shoving a lot, but that's beside the point. Ace deuce on king 10-7 against their range. Now, I think this board hits their range. I think they're going to have lots of broadways, maybe not as many small pairs. So I think they're doing really well on this board. Lots of hands like queen 10 suited, king queen, king jack, ace 10, ace jack, like, and not as many like pocket threes, pocket fours. So I decided to start with a check. I just think it's a really good board for them. And, you know, if they check back, great. We get a free card with the nut flush draw. That's fine. If they bet, we can go for a check jam and like put a lot of pressure on those weaker draws and pairs. Be happy to get it in with the nut flush draw for the bounty. So I think I like a check. I like a check still, I think. Insta check back. So here on the turn, it's a little weird, right? Because if we bet and get shoved on, that really sucks. It really sucks because they might have a hand like, I don't know, queen jack and go for the shove. They might have a hand like jack 9 of clubs and go for the shove, right? Like things like this. They might go for the shove with some of these hands, and that would really suck the bet fold. However, I think once they check back the flop, hands like queen jack, way more likely to call. Hands like ace 10, jack 10, queen 10, 8, 7, weaker club draws. I think all of these hands, for a player that called pre-flop, check back the flop off this stack depth, I think these hands are way more likely to just go for a call. So I think we're pretty safe to start betting. We can target hands like ace 9 hearts right away, try to get them to fold. We can put pressure on a 7 right away. Like a 7 is not comfortable here on the turn versus a bet. So I like to start bluffing with ace 2s of clubs. And my opponent goes all in. This sucks. This really sucks. I just don't think this is going to happen very much when we go for this delayed bet. That's the thing. I think I would play it the same way round 2 because I just logically their checking range just doesn't have a ton of hands that really want to go all in. So I'm a little bit confused even now what they have. I'm thinking it's probably like a king jack or a king queen that just went for a check. They can have pocket fours. They could have a king x of clubs and just go for the check back. I don't know. I don't know exactly what they have. If we think about their range, like how likely is it they call pre-flop, check back a draw, and then rip it against my bet on the turn with a draw? In position. I just think people love to call draws in position and shove draws out of position. I have a hard time putting them on like queen jack here. They could have queen jack of clubs specifically and want to go all in potentially. But even that hand, you play it as a check on the flop. I think you're very likely to play it as a call on the turn. I'm a little bit confused here, but I ultimately just think we should give him credit for having a hand and not a draw. Weird spot. Kind of worst case scenario here to put in 4 big blinds and have to fold my equity, but I really felt like they were going to play a lot more passive on the turn. And I'm thinking here because I'm like, man, do they only have draws in this spot? Do they have any value? I was really considering calling here and just hoping they had like queen jack or something, but jack 9. But I went for the laydown. Discipline. We're still chip leading. And at this point, I'm up on my chair. I'm on my chair praying that I win this pot or that Mex Erica gets it in. That's the biggest bounty at the table. I'm already chip leading. We're against king queen. And we scoop it. And we scoop it, man. $920 bounty. We go from chip lead to chip lead with $900 extra dollars. We're flying. And here's one of the craziest hands of the tournament. So under the gun, you can see 0.7 big blinds, all in for $734. We have the chip lead, so we have the leverage here. A lot of these people don't want to bust before this stack, whereas I'm the only one who can't bust. A lot of leverage here. The problem being we have 3-5 offsuit, so we're not going to put in extra money here. I'm going to go for a call. I think I call every single hand in my range here. There's not a hand I would fold. Obviously, I would raise some hands, but there's not a hand that I would fold, so we go for the call. Ace 10 deuce. We're on the button. We have one card in mind, and it's that one. It's an unbelievable card. We make the nuts. $734 in the pot, in position. It does not get better than this. With 3-5 offsuit. So we see a raise from Donut Lord here. I think we want to fast play this hand. I think Donut Lord's going to be quite sticky with top pair, second pair, flush draws. The players to my left, they're not going to have a lot of ace X in their range already. So I think going for a raise, not assuming that we're not going to get a lot of value from these two regardless. Because raising is giving me a better chance of getting the stack against Donut Lord. Again, I just don't think these two have too much that we can extract value from after it goes bet call and it went check, 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 check on the flop and then check, check on the turn. So I think most of our value is going to come from Donut Lord here. So we're going to put in a small raise. However, things get really spicy and weird because the Vox goes for a raise. It goes check, 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 check on the flop. Bet, raise, 3-bet. From the Vox here on the turn. It's a pretty ridiculous hand. Donut Lord quickly folds, and we have an interesting decision to make here with the 3-5. Do we call or do we shove? We have the nuts. Do we slow play and let them do something on the river, or do we shove? So in my head, in the moment at least, I'm thinking, man, like, is this a bluff ever? Like, is this ever a bluff? Because if it's never a bluff, we have no reason to slow play, right? If it's two pair, like if it's an ace deuce, ace four, deuce four, 10-4 suited, we have zero reason to slow play here. We want to get it in right away. Because what happens is the river's going to bring in like the flush, and we're going to lose sometimes, but more importantly, we're going to scare them away from getting all their chips in, right? Because it's a final table and they don't want to bust before that dude. I think very often when they go for this play, they're going to have a hand that can stack off on the turn right away. But on the river, things are going to get dicey for them. You know, the river might be a 10 and then suddenly their ace 4 doesn't want to get it in anymore. There's going to be counterfeits, flush cards, 4-liners. It's just going to make them not want to get it in with the ICM out of position. So I think fast playing is quite good here because I don't assume them to have a lot of bluffs and we don't want that river to scare them off. So that's why I go for the fast play. Very interesting spot. In hindsight, I will say, given the fact that we went check, 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 check on the flop, and this player is the most likely to maybe have a trap in their range, I think this can be a little bit more out of line than I thought, just given the fact that I checked the flop, he checked the flop. So when it goes 2 big blinds, 6 big blinds, and I'm not assumed to have a lot of ace X in my range, this could be like a weird bluffy play. A little bit more often than I thought. I still think shoving is a good play, but I did not give credit to a lot of bluffs in game. So we go for the shove, assuming they have like a 2 pair, and they snap fold. So we scoop 33 big blinds and a $734 bounty. Ace 9 suited here, we're definitely going to play in some facet. If there's a raise from peaky blind, I think a 3-bet here is a pretty good option. Going to put pressure on a lot of their hands here because they're going to open hands like king jack offsuit, king queen offsuit, ace 10 offsuit, weak suited aces. We put a lot of pressure on a lot of the opens here with a small 3-bet, and I kind of like that in this dynamic. But another good thing that happens when we go for this 3-bet with a hand like ace 9 suited is that when these guys have ace 10, ace jack, even ace queen, they often fold. So we fold out these hands that if we call, they might shove or call behind. We end up folding those out on the final table and avoiding playing with those dominating aces because, you know, these guys are going to play a lot tighter. So we go for the 3-bet and we get shoved on. And we're not calling this hand off. I'd call ace queen. I wouldn't 3-bet ace jack. I would just call ace jack. Looking at Tony's big blind and we're feeling good. Tony defends, jack 8 deuce. This hand plays well as a check, but I'm looking at Tony in the big blind here. I'm thinking, okay, I want to take my fold equity. If we bet and Tony jams, we can call. We're getting a great price with the bounty. Even if they have a jack, it's like, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened, right? We have the overcard, we have the backdoor straight draw for the bounty. If they have an 8, we have 2 overs in the backdoor straight draw. They can have a hand like 9-10 or 9-7 or queen 10 or queen 9. They probably just fold 9-7, but queen 10, queen 9, 9-10. So we dominate those draws. So yeah, I think a hand this strong, I'm going to go for a bet call instead of a check back and playing turn. And Tony does go for the shove. Unfortunately, they have king jack, really strong hands, so take a hit. Ace deuce in the big blind. We do cover both of these stacks for bounties. It's going to be too weak. We're risking too much of our stack with a hand that's dominated a little too often. You know, we don't do well against pairs. We're hoping it's like a king queen, but even then we're not crushing hard enough. So I think just passing that spot. King 9. Now losing the chip lead. Gonna have to raise fold against all these players. Chip leaders on the button. A little bit stickier. Not gonna extend my range to king 9. 8s against ace 6. We lose a player. Down to 6 players now. All right, we have a 3-way all in here. Ace 9, ace king, ace queen. And ace 9 is out of there. Unlucky for Tony. We're down to 5 players. Okay, so the new stack sizes, we have 3 players tied and then 2 short stacks. So it's pretty sweaty. We are covered by the big blind. I'm sitting on like 23 big blinds. I'll probably switch it back. Yeah, 23 big blinds. Now, okay, I don't know what the best play is. It might just be shove. I'm kind of scared to shove because I have this huge bounty and like it's a tough spot to sort out because if I shove and like they gamble with me lots, sure, if I win, I'm like a favorite to win this tournament a lot of the time. So that's like a pretty decent risk. They're also going to fold a ton. We also have a really strong hand. So like shoving is an idea. Raising, I don't think we want to raise call, but again, we could do that as well. We could induce and go for the raise call. If we raise, we have some fold equity. But like busting before these 3 shorter stacks, especially these 2 shorter stacks, it's just, I don't know. I really don't know what the best option is here. I just went for the limp in game. I'm like, I'm just going to limp fold and it's going to suck. I'm really not sure what the best play is here. Limp, raise call, raise fold, shove. Couldn't tell you. It's a very tricky spot with the shorter stacks. But I go for the limp and quite happily we get to see a flop. That's great. We get to play ace-10 suited post flop. That's perfect. Check. And I don't want to go to war here. I do not want to go to war here on king 5-4, so I make a fold. If this was early stages in a tournament, I would never check fold ace-10 here. It's too strong. With the ICM, I think it's a good fold. Feeling good about my stack now. And Tony snap calls with the ace-7, king of the flop. GG, Tony Soprano. We lose one of the better players here in the final 5. We're going to ladder up one more time. Ace-7, definitely going to call if MattStaples folds. You know, if they shove for 13 big blinds in this lineup, I might fold, but for 7, easy call with a7. But MattStaples goes for the isolation. King 8, ace queen. And a flush on the turn is going to quickly bring us to 3-handed. Going to go for the raise. And the plan here would be to call if we faced a shove. That's my current line of thinking. I shoved the ace king earlier. 10s, I prefer the raise call. We're going to dominate more of their jamming range. Yeah, my first thought here is that, you know, lots of their ace-x type hands are going to want to shove pre-flop. I'm on 20 whatever big blinds. This guy's on 15. They're chip leading. If they have an ace in the big blind, I think a lot of players just play shove, right? For 20 big blinds, again, big blind against button, people just shove their ace-x so often. So I'm actually quite happy on this board with 10s for that reason. Now this is super interesting to me because I'm thinking, okay, my opponent is shoving most of their ace-x pre-flop likely. And if they did have an ace, it's probably like an ace-2, ace-3, ace-4. I think they're jamming ace-5. Maybe they have an ace-6, but like they don't have pocket 5s. They don't have pocket 6s because they're jamming pre. This is sketchy with 10s, but what kind of ace-x should I give them, right? And yeah, they could have 6-5, but they could also have tons of bluffs and draws like 7-8, 8-9, hearts, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, okay, they don't have enough top pairs. They don't have enough 2 pairs for me to fold here. And I feel like my hand probably wants to get it in. Like, I don't think I want to slow play 10s. There's so many dangerous turns and rivers. All the overcards are awkward. Any of the low cards are awkward. I think we just want to get it in. So pretty sketchy spot. I don't think they have enough value and we need protection. And who knows? Maybe they just call like 6-7. Who knows? I've seen crazier things. Gonna go for the fast play here and hopefully not get shown bad news. And we get the snap fold. So I thought that was a really nice read on the situation. And ace jack. Gonna go for the raise on the button. Really wanted that bounty. Feder folds. And again, we're just hoping we don't get jammed on here. It would be really awkward. And we do. And we have ace jack suited. This is so painful, right? Because my opponent can jam like ace 5 suited here. My opponent can jam like 9-10 suited here. So if we call, you know, 50 whatever big blinds, and we're just the mega chip leader, or at least we're chip leader by 20 big blinds. I mean, there's so much reward to calling and winning here. There's like a basically free ladder if I just chill out and fold. You know what I mean? Like there's a very high percentage ladder and a chance at that bounty if I fold. That's a tough calculation. I don't know what the risk reward ratio is here. I haven't run this spot. I don't know if the solvers like a call. I certainly don't hate a call. It gives us the big chip lead. I just think we're too likely to get that $2,000 ladder. We have a chance to play for that $1,000 bounty. You know, they're always going to have ace, queen, ace, king in that range. They're not always going to have ace 5 in that range. So ultimately decided to fold, but yeah, kind of a sick one. The risk reward is pretty good to call. So now my opponent's down to 3 big blinds in the small blind. I'm like, I don't see how I can fold king 10 for a 3 big blind stack. I just don't see how I could do that. So we open this time. Folded the king 7, queen 8 suited, opening the king 10. They're shorter this time. Dynamics are tough. Interesting spot here for MattStaples. Like, do they just shove? Obviously, they want to play for that 1K bounty, but they're probably assuming I'm on a pretty strong range, which I am. They probably think I'm going to shove quite a bit pre-flop, which I might. So yeah, weird spot for them. And they go for the call. I'm not sure what's better, shove or call here. I think just playing in position and trying not to bust before Feder. You know, that terrible thing that might happen where I get it in, MattStaples beats me, but Feder survives, and then I get third. So I call. for the extra whatever. And we play in position. Flop is fantastic. We have the overcard, open ender. We get to play in position. If I was out of position, I'd be sweating in this spot. But in position, we're happy. I don't want to have to get it in on the flop, so we just check it back and boom. Ace of diamonds, we turn the straight. Barring a flush, we are flying. And we want to get our stack in now, so putting in a small bet makes a lot of sense. Get a call from Erica, and this point I'm pumped. Like I think a lot of their flushes, since I have the nut flush blocker, I think a lot of their flushes are just all in on the turn. Like 10 high, 9 high, 8 high flushes. I think all those hands are just out of position, just gonna be all in on the turn. Maybe Queen X of diamonds calls, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that we have the best hand. Pot is 16 bigs, we have 12 behind, we're all in. And if we can get a call, we're gonna be entering the heads up match with the lead. But we get the fold and we knock out the 975 bounties. So that's what I was sweating for the last 20 minutes. Like, how do I get this bounty and make it the heads up? And we did that. So here we are, heads up for the 530 super title. We're going in with a 5 big blind deficit, but 5.3K locked up plus the, at this point, I guess I had like 4K in bounties after that one. So here we go, heads up for the win. Gonna start with a check fold here on ace 8 deuce. King 6, considered a 3-bet briefly, but went for the call. Check, check, check. And we turn the open ender with the overcard. Looks like a very natural spot to bet. It's not the worst check call spot either, with the high card open ender, but decided to lead the turn. And we get a reasonably quick call, 10 of diamonds. Any 9 is a straight now. It's tough to, I don't know exactly what my frequency should be here, right? Like, they're definitely going to have 9s that want to bet the flop, but they're also going to have some 9s that might want to check naturally in a heads-up environment. I don't think they have a lot of hands like Jack 10 here, or like Jack X in general. They could have some hands like 10-8, they could have a 9, but they could also have like just a 5 or just a 7, King Queen of clubs, or they could have a hand like Ace 6 that we can get the fold, or lots of hands we could fold. They're going to have some good hands as well. I'm not really super tuned in on my frequencies here on how much I should bluff, but decided it was a pretty good spot to go for a bluff. We're certainly going to bet a lot of our 9x on the turn and follow through on the river. We can also bet our stronger 2 pairs here. Could also bet 6-4 here. So plenty of value bets. And my opponent calls me with Jack 6. So they did have a Jack to check back. 8-4 suited, down to 15 big blinds. More than a 2-1 disadvantage here. Flop a flush draw, 10-9-3. Gonna mix in a check back here with the weaker flush draw. And we turn the flush. It's always nice. Opponent bets big on the turn. I think in a heads up match, I really like calling. We can be very sticky on the river regardless, and we want to let them just keep firing. They're going to value bet liberally in a heads up match. They're going to bluff lots. It's a good board for them to bluff after I check the flop. So I like calling to raising on the turn, even with the more vulnerable flush. And then they pot the river. What can you do? I mean, it's a big bet, right? Like, it would be a lot more comfortable shoving if they bet 3 big blinds compared to 5. But again, I check back the flop. I'm probably not perceived to have too many flushes. They could have 2 pairs, straights. It's like a few combos of worse flushes, not many, but we get to put in the raise here. And there was no snap call, so we felt good. And now we're just praying that they make the call. If they did, we'd be right back in the match. Regardless, we'll be back to a reasonable level. Into the tank, still tanking, 13 seconds left in the bank. Calls with the queen 10, so goes for the 2 streets of value with the queen 10. Check back, we flop really well here, a strong top pair, 7 deuce 4. Gonna use the larger sizing right away on the flop, force some money in with the somewhat vulnerable top pair. And we face a small check raise. We have an easy shove here. You can get it in against worse top pairs, flush draws, straight draws, 5, 6, 3, 5. Again, they can just have 7, 8 of hearts here. So yeah, we have a pretty nice fast play. Not a hand that plays super well as a slow play either. Kind of a vulnerable top pair. A lot of weird turns and rivers to play. So I quite like the fast play. The king 7. Take it down. So now we're flying. I mean, we're flopping well, getting some bluffs through, getting some value bets in, feeling good. Ace 10 can go for the limp, can go for the shove. We're going to take the shove. Ace 10 suited, I might raise, not all in. And obviously, this is one we would love to see a call. Do get a call. King 9. Ace on the flop. 97. 100. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a stone cold victory in the 530 Super. 60K. Look at that. 10,566 in bounties. Just an absolutely mammoth win. Honestly, might be my first 530 first place I've ever had in my career. Like, I've had scores in 530s. I've had maybe bigger scores in a 530 before, but I don't think I've ever won outright. Could be wrong on that one, but that was really fun. A little 16K addition to the bankroll. I hope you guys enjoyed this video format. After everything's all cut down, hopefully it's relatively smooth and somewhat instructional. I didn't run any of these spots on PO Solver. I didn't run the Sims. I'm not telling you mathematically 100% what I'm doing here is correct, but that's what my brain was thinking throughout this entire tournament, which led me to win the 530. Hope you guys found that valuable or entertaining. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you hadn't, been here before. I would love to have you guys back, and the YouTube highlights will keep coming. So like the video, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that victory. Cheers.